Alright, in this video we're going to go over muscle fiber types, energy systems, health-related components. I'm just going to list those right there. That includes muscle strength, muscle endurance, cardiorespiratory endurance. There are 5 health-related components. We're just going to tie in 3, and genetics. And you have to bear with me. I'm going to be going pretty fast in this video because I want to keep this under 15 minutes. So here we're going to talk about contractile rate. So I'm just going to put CR there. Motor neuron. We're going to talk about the size of motor neuron. Resistance to fatigue. So I'm just going to write fatigue in here. And then we're going to have activity. So what types of activities would be good? And then duration. How long can it last? What type of duration is it good for? Power. So what type of power would we have if we had that type of muscle fiber? Mitochondrial density. I'm just going to put MD there. Capillary density. I'm just going to put CD there. Oxidative capacity. I'm going to spell out so I don't forget what it is. We'll talk about it. Capacity. And then glycolytic capacity. Glycolytic capacity. Okay, and then we'll also talk about the fuel source used for that particular muscle fiber. And we'll talk about energy systems. Tie in some videos that we've done in the past, and health-related components, HRC, and a little bit of genetics. So I'm sorry if I go fast, but I have to do that to get all this in, because I don't want this video to be too long. So here we're going to be talking about slow twitch. ST, and that's going to be our type 1 fibers. Straight lines are really hard with this, to draw with this. And then we're going to talk about fast twitch oxidative glycolytic, FOG, FOG, type 2A. We're going to talk about an intermediate fiber, so type 2X. And then over here we're going to talk about fast twitch glycolytic, which is type 2B. When I went to school they didn't talk about type 2X too much, but you start to see it more nowadays in the literature, so I'm going to talk about it. So let's talk about contractile rate. Slow and slow twitch, and that makes sense. Moderate here for fast twitch oxidative glycolytic. Think of that more muscle endurance there. This one's really fast, and this one is very fast in the fast twitch glycolytic. So motor neuron size here, of course, is small. This one's kind of medium. And this one is going to be large. This is very large. And I like to tie these two together. So here's our large motor neuron, and it's causing the muscle to contract at a very fast rate, and I kind of drew them separately so you could see them. So contractile rate, motor neuron, these should make sense. See how they all kind of tie in. So fatigue resistance, it's very high in slow twitch, and it's fairly high here with fast twitch oxidative, fairly high. It's going to be kind of intermediate or moderate here, so I'm just going to put moderate for the type 2X, which is our intermediate between type 2A and type 2B. And then it's going to be fairly low for the fast twitch glycolytic. And that should make sense because it doesn't have a lot of oxygen getting to it. You're running off the immediate source of energy. Activities, good for aerobic events. This is good for long-term anaerobic. This is also good for kind of shorter term anaerobic. This is very short anaerobic exercise. Alright, duration, anything continuous and repetitive over 5 minutes. This would be good for us, good for a lot of really longer than 5 minutes, but I'm just giving you the same time frame you would have for the aerobic oxidative energy system to start to kick in. So duration here, we're capping out around 2 minutes. You'll see some books that say 2 to 3, but we're going for 2 minutes there before it starts to really get depleted. We're using more glycolysis there. Let's say about 1 minute here, because this is our intermediate fiber, and we're saying 10 to 12 seconds here. So that kind of ties the time frame in. So let's talk about power. Very low power. So we don't have much power here. So medium power with a fast twitch oxidative. So we're going to have a lot of power here with the intermediate type 2X, and even more power with a fast twitch oxidative glycolytic. So really I should say very high here. So mitochondrial density within a cell. This is going to be high because it's slow twitch. It's got a lot of mitochondria in the cell to generate ATP for us. So even here we have fairly high for fast twitch oxidative glycolytic, because you're doing a lot of repetitions. You know, more muscle endurance with fast twitch oxidative glycolytic, and then we have a medium amount and very low here for fast twitch glycolytic. Capillary density, very high. So when you think capillary density, think of blood supply to the tissue, because little capillaries innervating the tissue, getting a lot of blood supply. So when you look at slow twitch on the microscope, it's going to be almost red in nature. In fact, we'll draw that down here. We'll write in color at the very end so you can tie that in. So here this would be almost really bright pink. So it's also going to be high or intermediate, so I'll just put moderate here. And actually I'm going to put high to moderate, because I want to put moderate here on capillary density. So actually it's pretty low, and then this one would be very low, almost no blood supply. So if we were looking at these under a microscope, this would, slow twitch would be red, fast twitch oxidative would be pretty pink. This one might have a pink twinge to it, the intermediate fiber, and this would be almost all white, because remember back to the chicken breast, all white meat. So oxidative capacity, this is going to be really high. This is going to be high as well, because remember this is fast twitch oxidative glycolytic, so it has a pretty large oxidative component to it. This is going to be intermediate, and then this one's going to be low. Alright, and so glycolytic capacity for slow twitch is going to be low, because we're using the aerobic oxidative energy system. We're not using glycolysis to supply our energy needs. This is going to be high. This one's going to be high. And this one's going to be high as well, except the time frame here. It all really depends on time. And I'll talk about that in a sec, because fast twitch glycolytic is running, it depends. I mean, if you're only going for 2-3 seconds, maybe an explosive bout or lifting weights, you're just running off the immediate source of ATP within the muscle. So here's the ATP, so here's 2 seconds, here's 10 seconds, here's 2 minutes. So we know for the first 2 seconds we're just running off immediate source of ATP. That's why I'm saying this one, it all depends on how long the duration is, because the glycolytic system is not going to kick in until after about 2 seconds and up to 10 seconds. And then after that, ATP PC system is going to kick in from the first 2 seconds to 10 seconds, and then glycolytic energy system is going to go all the way up to 2 minutes. So for this one, if the bout's only 2 or 3 seconds long, you're really not even getting into the ATP PC system, and you're definitely not getting to the glycolytic energy system. So this one all depends on duration. So fuel, we're dealing with triglycerides here. I don't know if you can see it. Glycerides, I put an L there. So triglycerides. And then we've got creatine phosphate here and glycogen. Same thing for these. Creatine phosphate and glycogen. So this should make sense. You'll see on some treadmills and stuff, they'll tell you the fuel source, what you're using. So if the intensity is not too high, the body's like, oh, I got time to tap into some of these fats, and so triglycerides is broken in. You can use the glycerol as an energy source, and you can also use those free fatty acids, and they're broken in and can be metabolized. So if the intensity is not too high, the body says, oh, I got time. We don't have to use up all this blood sugar. Let's tap into some of these fats and use them up. Well, if the intensity is pretty high, the body says, hey, I don't have a lot of time to break down the fats. It's more efficient to use glucose. So let's use this creatine phosphate here to replenish some of our energy stores. But let's also, when it gets more glycolytic, let's tap into the glycogen in the muscle after we've used up some of the blood sugar. And there's also glycogen in the liver. So for these three here, we're using glucose as a fuel source, except for this one really sometimes can be more ATP. So we might scribble this out. It all depends on time frame, remember. So creatine phosphate, if it's up to about 10 seconds or so, anything over that 10 seconds to 2 minutes, we're using glucose. But anything around 2 or 3 minutes, really ATP, the stored ATP. Energy systems, aerobic, oxidative. I'm going to start going faster so I don't run out of time here. So this one's more muscle endurance for the fast twitch oxidative glycolytic. This one could also be muscle endurance for the intermediate fiber, the type 2X. And then this one is going to be muscle strength for the fast twitch glycolytic. So health related components. Oh, I just listed those, I'm sorry. This should have been here. Let me scribble that out. It should have been glycolysis. Because I was talking about energy systems, so this one should also be glycolysis. And this should be the ATP-CP system. Now let's get to the health-related components. I kind of got ahead of myself. Cardiorespiratory endurance. This one is more muscle endurance. This one's also muscle endurance. This one's muscle strength for the fast-twitch glycolytic. And then before we get to genetics, let's talk about color underneath the microscope. This one is going to be red because it's got a lot of blood supply and the myoglobin in it. This one's going to be kind of pink. This one's going to be like a tinge of pink, so light pink if you looked at it underneath the microscope. And then this one's going to be all white because it's running off the immediate source of ATP within the muscle. Now let's talk a little bit about genetics, and more specifically the myosin heavy chain, the human genes that you're going to find in certain muscle fiber types. So MYH7, let's see that more slow twitch. MYH2, it's more for fast twitch oxidative glycolytic. MYH1 for the intermediate fiber, and so MYH4 for fast twitch glycolytic. H4. And the reason this is important, this is a new area of study, is you can change certain genes. Let's say we have a fast twitch gene and we go in and alter it and change it to MYH7, then that mouse, when it is born, is going to have more slow twitch in those muscles that normally would have been fast twitch. And so we'll have a whole video about this later on. So I hope this ties in everything for you, and it brings in muscle fiber types and links them to energy systems, and it also links it to the health related components and a little bit of genetics, which we'll have a video about in the future. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next.